Failure doesn't feel good. It can sting, shake your confidence, and make you question everything you're doing. Maybe you've tried something important to you, starting a business, changing careers, chasing a goal, and it just didn't work out. Maybe you gave it your all and still came up short. That kind of disappointment can hit deep. It can leave you sitting in silence, wondering if you even want to try again. But what if that failure you're thinking about right now isn't the end of your story? What if it's just the beginning of something better? In this video, we're going to talk about how to turn failure into success, step by step, decision by decision, mindset shift by mindset shift. This isn't about pretending everything is fine or trying to stay positive without doing the work. It's about understanding what failure really is, feedback, direction, and an invitation to grow stronger and wiser. If you've ever felt like giving up, or if you're struggling to see how your efforts will ever pay off, you're not alone, and this is for you. We're going to break it down into real, practical actions, things you can actually do. You'll learn how to deal with setbacks, how to keep going when progress feels invisible, and how to build confidence even when nothing seems to be working yet. We'll show you how to make changes without losing your drive, how to face your fears one bold move at a time, and how to stop aiming for perfection and start celebrating real progress. And maybe most importantly, we're going to talk about what it means to believe in yourself again, not in a vague feel-good way, but in a grounded, honest daily commitment to keep showing up for your goals, even when no one else sees it yet. If you've ever failed, and let's be honest, we all have, this video is going to give you the tools and mindset you need to keep going, to rise above the doubt, and to turn what once felt like defeat into real lasting success. Stick around, because what comes next could be exactly what you need. Chapter 1. Accept failure fully as your greatest teacher now. Failure is not the end of the road. It is not a punishment. It is not a curse. It is not proof that you are not good enough. It is a sign that you are in motion. It is the evidence that you are trying. It is the raw material from which all success is built. People who achieve great things are not those who avoid failure, but those who walk through it, study it, and allow it to shape them. If you truly want to turn failure into success, you must start by accepting it fully, not partially, not reluctantly, not with shame, but fully and completely, with eyes open and mind awake. Most people fear failure because they believe it defines them. They carry failure like a stain on their identity. But failure is not a label. It is a moment. It is an event, not a person. You are not your failures. You are not your losses. You are the one who learns from them, adapts through them, and rises after them. The key to transformation is to stop hiding from your failures and start facing them with a calm and honest mind. The more you try to ignore or deny failure, the more it will control you. The moment you accept failure as your teacher, it begins to serve you instead of shame you. The first step is to remove the emotional weight you attach to failure. When something doesn't go your way, your first instinct might be to react with frustration, guilt, or sadness. That's natural, but those emotions are only helpful for a brief moment. After that, they cloud your thinking. They stop you from seeing the opportunity buried underneath the pain. Accepting failure does not mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It means facing the pain without letting it control your actions. It means looking directly at the outcome and asking, what can I learn here? Instead of saying, why does this always happen to me? When you begin to treat failure like a lesson, your entire relationship with life changes. Instead of avoiding risks, you start pursuing growth. Instead of running from discomfort, You begin moving toward discipline, because now you understand that every failure, no matter how frustrating or disappointing, has a message, a warning, a lesson, a direction. The people who grow the most are not those who win every time, but those who keep showing up, even when things fall apart. Because deep down, they understand that failure is not destruction. It is instruction. There is a kind of mental freedom that comes when you stop trying to control every outcome. So much energy is wasted trying to avoid all mistakes. People delay decisions. They doubt themselves. They overthink. They hesitate. All because they fear failure. But when you accept that failure will happen, and that it's not the end of you, something shifts. You begin to act with more courage. You begin to take the kind of steps that actually lead to growth. You move forward not because you're sure you'll win, but because you're no longer afraid to learn. No real progress happens without failure. If you look back at anything meaningful you've achieved in life, you'll find failure somewhere in that story. You'll find the awkward beginnings, the false starts, the poor decisions, the disappointments. But you'll also find growth, strength, wisdom. You learned to stand on your own. You learned what mattered. You became more focused. That's the value of failure. It strips away what's unimportant. It wakes you up. It reveals your blind spots. It forces you to pay attention. In many ways, failure is a filter. It separates the people who want success from those who are willing to earn it. Most people treat failure as a stop sign. They reach one obstacle and decide it's time to turn around. But success belongs to those who see failure as a checkpoint, a place to pause, reflect, and then proceed with better information. Every failure is feedback. It's a signal. It tells you what's not working. It invites you to try a new approach. If you listen to that feedback instead of reacting emotionally, you get stronger. You gain clarity. You improve. But if you reject failure or ignore it, you miss the opportunity. You get stuck. You keep repeating the same mistakes and blaming the world for your pain. You must learn to see failure as part of your training. Just as a boxer gets stronger by taking hits and learning how to defend, you grow stronger through your setbacks. Success is not the result of avoiding failure, but of practicing your way through it. The more you engage with your failures intentionally, the more skilled you become at adapting. You stop fearing mistakes because you trust yourself to handle them, and this self-trust becomes the foundation of your confidence. The world is full of people who gave up after one failure. They tried once, got rejected, and decided it wasn't meant for them. They started a project, faced some resistance, and walked away. But nothing worth having comes easily. Growth is earned, confidence is built, wisdom is developed. And all of these things require you to fail, learn, and keep moving forward. If you want to create a better future, you must be willing to go through the uncomfortable moments. You must be willing to be misunderstood, to fall short, to look foolish. Because each of these moments is shaping you into someone stronger and more capable. The mind will often try to convince you that failure means you're not ready or not good enough. But that is not true. Failure means you're trying something new. It means you're pushing your limits. It means you're willing to learn. And there is no growth without that willingness. When you accept failure, you open the door to progress. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop comparing yourself to others. You begin to walk your own path, guided by effort and reflection, rather than fear and avoidance. To truly accept failure, you need to build a quiet mind. A mind that is not reactive, not desperate for approval, not attached to instant success. A mind that is grounded in purpose and committed to growth. This kind of mindset comes from daily discipline, from honest reflection, from small wins, from letting go of your ego and embracing the process. When you begin to see each failure as one small step in your larger journey, you stop overreacting to every result. You stop quitting early. You start playing the long game. Practical acceptance of failure means you stop hiding your failures. You talk about them. You write about them. You examine them. You become a student of your own life. You stop pretending everything is fine and start asking better questions. What led to this failure? What did I ignore? What can I do differently? This level of honesty is hard, but it is the only way forward. The longer you pretend, the longer you stay stuck. Real growth only begins when you accept where you are, and failure is often the first clear sign that something needs to change. You also need to stop taking failure personally. Failure is not always about you as a person. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's lack of preparation. Sometimes it's circumstances. But even when the failure is your fault, it's still not your identity. It is a reflection of your decisions, not your worth. And decisions can be improved. Skills can be built. Focus can be sharpened. If you treat failure as a reflection of your value, you'll lose confidence. But if you treat it as feedback on your strategy, you gain power. One of the best habits you can build is the habit of reviewing your failures. Sit down regularly and ask yourself what didn't go well and why. Write it down. Look for patterns. Be honest. Not emotional, just factual. This process will give you insight. It will help you see things you missed in the moment. And over time you'll begin to make better choices because you've learned to listen to your life instead of reacting to it. This is how you become wise. Not by avoiding mistakes, but by understanding them. Failure teaches you how to handle pressure. It teaches you humility. It teaches you resilience. You learn that things won't always go your way. You learn that effort doesn't always lead to reward, at least not immediately. You learn that growth takes time, and that nothing worthwhile comes without discomfort. These are the truths that make you stronger. These are the lessons that prepare you for real success. Because when success finally comes, you'll be ready for it. Not just technically, but mentally and emotionally. You'll know how to sustain it, because you earned it the hard way. Every person you admire has failed. Many times. The difference is, they didn't let failure stop them. They didn't treat failure as proof that they weren't good enough. They used it as training, as practice, as data. They kept going. They kept showing up. They learned faster because they weren't ashamed to fail. You can do the same. You can take whatever has happened in your life and turn it into a lesson. You can stop hiding your losses and start learning from them. That is the beginning of strength. That is the first step toward growth. You are not here to live a life free of difficulty. You are here to become someone who can rise through it, who can adapt, who can endure, who can lead. Accept failure not just as a reality, but as a necessity. Accept it with discipline. Accept it with focus. Accept it with the mindset of a student, not a victim. This shift will change everything, because once you stop resisting failure, you stop resisting growth. You become free to act, free to try, and free to improve. You don't need to be perfect to succeed. You need to be persistent. You need to be honest. You need to be courageous enough to look at what didn't work and keep going anyway. That is the mark of someone who turns failure into success. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is character. And character is built through every moment you fall down and choose to rise again. There is no shortcut. There is only the path forward, so walk it with strength. Walk it with focus. Walk it with full acceptance of everything that didn't go your way. because every failure you've ever faced can either weigh you down or lift you higher. The choice is yours. If you accept it, study it and use it, then failure is no longer your enemy. It becomes your advantage, your power, your secret weapon, and with that, success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Chapter 2. Own your mistakes without blaming anyone or anything. Most people spend their entire lives trying to escape responsibility for their mistakes. They point fingers, shift blame, or create stories that protect their ego. But no meaningful change ever begins that way. Growth starts when you stop running from the truth and face your role in what went wrong. It begins the moment you take full ownership of your choices, your reactions and your habits without making excuses or dragging anyone else into it. That kind of personal responsibility is rare, but it is also powerful. It marks the turning point between staying stuck and moving forward. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They're a part of learning. But when you deny them, you give away your ability to learn. You miss the chance to grow. Owning your mistakes doesn't mean punishing yourself or feeling shame. It means being honest enough to say, "This was my doing. I made this choice. I played a role in this outcome." It's a quiet strength, a willingness to see yourself clearly without defensiveness or distortion. When you own your mistakes, you take back control of your life. Because what you're responsible for, you can improve. Blame is easy. It makes you feel temporarily safe. It allows you to keep your pride intact and avoid discomfort. But every time you blame someone or something else, you train your mind to stay passive. You teach yourself that the solution is outside of you, that life is something happening to you rather than something you are actively shaping. That mindset is the beginning of helplessness. On the other hand, when you stop blaming and start examining your role in every experience, you become sharper. You begin to ask better questions. You begin to solve problems from the inside out. There is great clarity in ownership. Instead of wasting energy arguing with reality, you can use that energy to change. The truth doesn't hurt nearly as much as resisting it does. When something goes wrong, the most valuable question is not, "Who caused this?" but "What can I take responsibility for right now?" Maybe you didn't create every condition, but there is always something in your control. Your reaction, your preparation, your choice, your focus, your assumptions. Once you identify that part, you gain the leverage to do something different next time. The habit of blame usually begins with fear, the fear of appearing weak, of being judged, of admitting you were wrong. But trying to protect your image by avoiding responsibility only makes things worse. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of reaction. It keeps you emotionally fragile because any feedback feels like a threat. But the moment you stop trying to protect your ego and start focusing on what's true, your mind becomes stronger. You can hear criticism without falling apart. You can admit wrong without feeling worthless. You can correct course instead of hiding behind defensiveness. To own your mistakes means to stop using the past as a shield. It's easy to say, "I am this way because of what happened to me," or "I can't change because of how I was raised." And yes, the past matters. It shapes how we think, but it does not define what we're capable of. There is a difference between understanding your history and using it as a crutch. When you start saying, "I am responsible for my thoughts today," you begin to break free from your history. You begin to shape your own path forward instead of being trapped in the patterns of your past. This kind of responsibility brings peace. When you take ownership, you stop needing everything around you to be perfect. You stop needing others to behave a certain way for you to feel okay. Your power returns to where it belongs, inside you. Now your focus is on growth, not blame, on building, not defending, on understanding, not reacting. You begin to live from a place of calm strength, not emotional chaos. One of the clearest signs of maturity is the ability to say, "I messed up," not with shame, not with drama, but with clarity. That kind of honesty earns respect. It builds trust with others and with yourself. When you admit your mistakes, you make room for improvement. You create space to try again with more wisdom. You open the door to better results, because you're no longer pretending everything is fine. You're working with reality, not against it. If you want to grow, you must practice accountability in your smallest daily choices, not just when something big goes wrong. Notice where you make excuses. Pay attention when you deflect or minimize your role. Catch yourself in the moment. Pause and ask, how did I contribute to this? What could I have done better? These simple questions build awareness, and awareness is the foundation of all growth. It allows you to make adjustments before the problems grow larger. It trains you to act consciously instead of automatically. There is nothing weak about admitting you were wrong. What's weak is pretending you're never at fault. What's weak is refusing to learn. But strength looks like honesty. It looks like reflection. It looks like discipline. You show strength when you say, "I could have handled that differently." You show character when you take responsibility without blaming others or defending your pride. And the more you practice this, the stronger you become, not just in your actions but in your identity. Taking ownership does not mean taking blame for other people's behavior. It means focusing only on your side of the street. You can't control how others act, but you can control how you respond. You can control your attitude, your habits, your energy. When you take full responsibility for those things, you become a stable force in your own life. You stop being swayed by circumstances or other people's decisions. Your focus stays on what you can do, what you can improve, what you can build. And that clarity keeps you steady, even when life is unpredictable. The truth is, no one can fix your life for you. No one can make you disciplined. No one can force you to change. The work is yours, and the sooner you stop blaming others, the sooner you can begin that work with focus and strength. Every excuse you make is a delay. Every blame you place is a distraction. If you want real progress, you have to stop waiting for others to change and start looking inward. Sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. It's easy to create a story where you're always the one who was wronged, misunderstood, or held back. But those stories are chains. They keep you tied to powerlessness. And no matter how comforting they may feel in the moment, they prevent growth. The truth is your greatest tool. The more honest you are about your part in things, the more freedom you gain. Because now you can do something about it. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to be perfect. But you do need to be responsible. That is what separates those who stay stuck from those who evolve. Growth does not come from pretending to be right. It comes from learning where you were wrong. It comes from facing your weaknesses instead of hiding them. And it comes from doing the hard work of changing your habits, one decision at a time. This is not about guilt. It's about growth. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about standing up. Because when you take ownership of your life, you begin to live with intention. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop drifting and start directing. And over time, those small decisions you take full responsibility for begin to transform who you are. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to move forward, not just once but daily, with quiet strength and unwavering focus. Chapter 3. Reflect deeply to understand what failure taught you. Most people experience failure and rush past it as quickly as they can. They distract themselves, bury the disappointment, and try to move on without understanding what just happened. But every failure holds a lesson, and those who take the time to look inward, to ask honest questions, and to examine their actions, reactions, and choices will always grow stronger. Reflection is not about regret or replaying what went wrong over and over again. It's about learning what life was trying to show you through that moment. When something doesn't go the way you hoped, your first instinct may be frustration or even shame. But those emotions can cloud your thinking and keep you stuck if you don't slow down and create space to think clearly. It is only in quiet moments of self-examination that you begin to see patterns. You begin to see the part you played. You recognize what was within your control and what wasn't. You become more aware of your decisions, your mindset, your habits, and your blind spots. Without reflection, failure repeats itself. With reflection, failure transforms you. The goal of reflection is not to feel worse but to become wiser. Failure gives you data, and your responsibility is to study it. You ask yourself questions not to criticize, but to gain clarity. What was I expecting? Where did I misjudge the situation? Did I prepare fully or cut corners? Was I listening to others or just pushing forward blindly? Did I let fear guide my actions? Did I ignore signs that something wasn't right? Every question opens a new door. Every honest answer helps you build a better foundation. Taking time to reflect gives you power. It shifts your focus from outcome to process. Instead of judging yourself by whether you succeeded or failed, you begin to evaluate the quality of your thinking, the strength of your effort, and the clarity of your actions. This shift helps you build discipline. It helps you sharpen your awareness. And it keeps you grounded when life becomes uncertain. You start to realize that the most important lessons often come wrapped in discomfort. They don't arrive with applause or approval. They arrive quietly, through difficulty, and only reveal their value when you look closely. You don't need hours of meditation or complicated rituals to reflect deeply. What you need is honesty and stillness. You can begin by sitting down with a notebook and asking yourself simple, direct questions. What went wrong? What did I assume that turned out to be false? What part of this situation did I ignore or avoid? What can I do differently next time? This process is not about dwelling on mistakes, but about extracting insight. It helps you separate the noise from the truth. It helps you understand how you arrived at this place and what needs to change moving forward. Reflection also builds emotional strength. Instead of fearing failure, you begin to see it as a mirror. It shows you who you are under pressure. It shows you what you believe when things fall apart. It reveals whether your actions are driven by purpose or ego. And it teaches you how to stay steady even when the outcome disappoints you. When you reflect deeply, you become less reactive and more intentional. You stop repeating the same behaviors and start building new ways of thinking. It's easy to focus only on the surface, the result, the missed opportunity, the rejection, but deep reflection asks you to look beyond all that. Maybe the failure wasn't just about the event itself, but about the mindset you carried into it. Maybe you were driven by impatience. Maybe you were afraid of looking weak. Maybe you were seeking approval rather than working from purpose. These truths are hard to face, but they are necessary if you want to evolve. You can't fix what you refuse to see. You can't grow past what you avoid acknowledging. One of the most important questions you can ask yourself after any failure is, What is this trying to teach me? Sometimes the answer is about timing. You weren't ready. Sometimes the answer is about preparation. You skipped the work. Sometimes the answer is about vision. You were chasing something that didn't matter. And sometimes the answer is deeper. It's about your identity, your fears, your insecurities, or your habits. But you'll never find those answers if you don't take the time to look. Reflection also helps you build resilience. When you see each failure as a chance to get stronger, you become less afraid to try again. You stop seeing difficulty as a threat and start seeing it as part of the journey. The people who grow the most are not those who avoid failure, but those who study it. They treat every setback like a classroom. They take notes, they adjust, and they return to the work with better awareness and more strength. This is how real transformation happens, not all at once, but in small, steady moments of insight and clarity. There is no fixed formula for reflection, but there is a mindset, curiosity, responsibility, and patience. Be curious about why things went the way they did. Take full responsibility for your role in it, and be patient with yourself as you learn. You won't have all the answers right away, but the more you practice self-examination, the more skilled you become at finding what matters. You start to make decisions from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. You begin to walk through life with more stability and purpose. You don't need to fear mistakes when you know how to reflect, because now every failure becomes a tool. Every difficult moment becomes a message. Every disappointment becomes a lesson. You start to live with eyes wide open, learning from everything, not just the good, but the painful, the unexpected, the frustrating. And this kind of learning builds a foundation that no failure can destroy. Because you're no longer attached to outcomes. You're committed to understanding, growth, and steady improvement. The world teaches you to chase success and run from failure, but real strength comes from doing the opposite. You slow down, you ask questions, you examine yourself with honesty, and through that process, you begin to grow in ways that others cannot see, but you can feel. You become more self-aware, more grounded, and more capable. You begin to make choices that align with who you want to become, not who you used to be. When you reflect deeply, you move beyond surface thinking. You stop chasing quick fixes. You stop blaming the world. You take your power back, not through force, but through understanding. And that understanding shapes how you show up every day. It influences your habits, your goals, your mindset, and your direction. It reminds you that failure is never the end. It is simply information. And the more clearly you understand that information, the better decisions you will make from this moment forward. Chapter 4. Build daily discipline to rise stronger every morning. Discipline is not about forcing yourself into a rigid life. It's about building a structure that supports who you want to become. Without discipline, your energy is scattered. Your intentions stay trapped in your mind. Your goals stay dreams instead of becoming reality. But with discipline, you rise each day with a sense of control. You know where your time is going. You know what your priorities are. You know the habits that shape your direction. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom built through responsibility. Every morning gives you a new opportunity to reset your direction. How you begin your day determines how you carry yourself through the rest of it. If you start distracted, reactive, or passive, that energy follows you. But if you wake up with clarity and follow a pattern that strengthens your mind, body, and purpose, you become unstoppable. This does not mean your routine must be complicated. It means it must be intentional. What you do early shapes how you think later. And your ability to stay steady in life depends on the systems you repeat daily. Discipline is not something you are born with, it's something you practice. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. You may resist structure because it feels unfamiliar. You may slip up and fall back into old habits, but the key is to stay committed to improvement, not perfection. It's about showing up for yourself even when you don't feel like it. It's about taking action before your emotions have a chance to talk you out of it. It's about reminding yourself that consistency creates strength far more than intensity ever will. You don't need to change your whole life in one day. You only need to decide who you want to become and build a routine that supports that version of you. Maybe it means waking up an hour earlier to reflect, move your body, or plan your priorities. Maybe it means avoiding distractions for the first hour of your day so your mind stays clear. Maybe it means setting a small daily goal that moves you forward. Whatever your starting point, your goal is to make it repeatable. When a habit becomes part of your identity, discipline becomes your way of life. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they act. But the truth is, discipline creates motivation, not the other way around. The more often you follow through, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more focused you stay. And the more focused you stay, the more progress you see. Discipline is the bridge between intention and outcome. It is what turns your efforts into momentum. It is what keeps you anchored when life tries to pull you in different directions. Each morning you have a choice: act with purpose or drift through routine. When you choose purpose, you remind yourself that today matters. You do the hard things not because they are easy, but because they are necessary. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't wait until everything feels right. You get up, you follow your structure, and you keep moving forward. This builds mental toughness. It teaches your mind that you are in control of your time, not your impulses. It teaches your body that it can handle discomfort and still move with strength. Discipline also helps you recover from failure faster. When you're grounded in daily habits, a bad day doesn't become a bad week. A missed goal doesn't spiral into defeat. You have a foundation to return to. You have systems that keep you focused even when your emotions try to distract you. Discipline creates stability, and stability protects your progress. Even when life throws you off, your structure helps you realign quickly. Building discipline is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, consistently. It's about cutting out the things that waste your energy. It's about saying no to distractions that seem harmless but pull you off course. It's about designing a day that moves you closer to your vision rather than further from it. This means taking ownership of how you use your mornings, how you speak to yourself, how you spend your energy, and how you recover your focus when you slip. Start small. Don't try to master everything at once. Begin with one daily action that strengthens you. Commit to it for 1 week. Then build from there. Discipline grows in stages, not all at once. If you try to change everything overnight, you'll burn out. But if you stay consistent with small steps, you will gain momentum. You'll see results. You'll start to trust yourself. And that trust builds confidence that can't be shaken by circumstances. There will be days you don't want to follow through. There will be moments where discipline feels like a burden. But those are the exact moments where growth happens. When you choose to act, even when you feel resistance, you rewire your thinking. You stop being controlled by feelings. You start being guided by values. You prove to yourself that you are not defined by mood or comfort. You are defined by what you choose to do when it's difficult. When you rise with discipline, you rise with strength. You rise with direction. You rise with pride in yourself that no external praise can replace. You begin your day knowing you've already won the first battle, the battle between comfort and growth. And that small victory changes how you show up in every other part of your life. It changes how you speak to people, how you face challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how you stay focused under pressure. A disciplined life is a simple life. Not easy, but simple. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop chasing everything that moves. You focus on your goals. You repeat your habits. You track your progress. And you make decisions that support your long-term growth rather than short-term relief. This builds clarity. This builds strength. This builds purpose that lasts. You don't need more time. You need more structure. You don't need a new goal every month. You need habits that match your priorities. Discipline is not the end goal. It is the method through which everything else becomes possible. Health, success, peace, stability, none of these exist without the daily decisions that create them. And once you see the power of discipline, you never want to live without it again. So each morning, begin with intention. Wake up knowing that your habits shape your destiny. Don't wait for life to push you. Push yourself. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Use the moment you have. Keep it simple. Stay consistent. And remember that the strongest people are not the ones who do the most. They're the ones who show up every day and do what needs to be done even when it's hard. That's what turns discipline into freedom. That's what helps you rise stronger every single morning. Chapter 5. Replace negative thoughts with clear action steps today. Negative thoughts can take root quietly. They begin with a whisper of doubt and slowly grow louder if you don't interrupt them. They make you question your value, your choices, and even your future. One moment, you feel like you're moving forward, and the next, a thought reminds you of what went wrong, what's missing, or what might fail. Left unchecked, these thoughts create a loop that keeps you stuck. They rob you of clarity, distort your confidence, and drain the energy you need to take meaningful action. The key is to recognize that thoughts are not commands, they're suggestions. Some are helpful, some are not. And when a thought begins to weigh you down, you don't have to argue with it, explain it, or let it define your day. You can choose to act, not in defiance of the thought, but in alignment with your deeper goals. Action is what clears the fog, not debate, not overthinking, not waiting until your emotions shift. Clear, decisive action is the most direct way to regain power. This doesn't mean you ignore how you feel. Emotions carry signals, and they deserve attention. But once you've heard the message, you don't need to repeat it endlessly in your mind. You can translate that emotional signal into a step forward. If you're feeling discouraged, maybe the next step is small but clear. Organize your space. Call someone you trust. Return to a task that builds progress. These aren't massive breakthroughs, but they are shifts. And that shift breaks the cycle of passive rumination. Replacing a negative thought is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about realizing you are not powerless. You don't have to believe every thought that appears. You don't have to follow it wherever it leads. You can pause, assess, and decide what to do next based on what serves you best. The question is never, why do I feel this way? The better question is, what is one thing I can do right now that aligns with who I want to become? Some people wait for their mindset to improve before they take action. But that's not how change works. Movement creates clarity. Even the smallest step has the power to shift your internal state. It reminds you that you're not at the mercy of your mind, you're the one steering it. The more you choose action, the more momentum you gain. And with momentum comes strength. You build evidence that you can handle discomfort without being consumed by it. When your thoughts become heavy, simplify your focus. Ask yourself what needs to be done today. Not in theory, not in the ideal world, but right here, right now. The brain thrives on direction. When it has nothing to aim at, it circles back to fear, regret and uncertainty. But when you give it a job, it settles, it focuses, and in that focus, the noise begins to fade. You don't need to solve everything at once. You only need to solve what's in front of you. Many negative thoughts come from imagined scenarios that haven't even happened. You begin to fear outcomes that don't exist. You replay conversations that are already over. You assume failure before the effort has even begun. That's where action interrupts the spiral. You anchor yourself in reality. You face what is, not what might be. You bring your attention to what's within your reach. And from that grounded place, you make better decisions. You don't have to wait for confidence to appear. Confidence is built when you consistently act in ways that support your progress. Every time you take action, despite doubt, you create a new pattern. You show your mind that fear is not in control. And over time, those old thoughts lose their grip. They may still appear, but they no longer have the same weight. You've trained yourself to respond with intention instead of reaction. There's a quiet power in taking control of your own thoughts, not by force but through choice. You don't battle your thoughts. You outgrow them by showing your mind what's possible. The clearer your actions, the less space there is for confusion, and clarity is what strengthens your identity. It shows you that you are capable, even when your mind tries to convince you otherwise. Some days your thoughts will be louder than usual. That's not a sign of weakness. It's part of being human. But you're not defined by what passes through your mind. You're defined by what you choose to do with those thoughts. You can write them down and set them aside. You can replace them with a goal for the next 10 minutes. You can breathe, reset and decide to take action without needing to feel perfect first. And that is where transformation begins. It's easy to get lost in reflection when things aren't going your way. But too much reflection without direction becomes a trap. The mind starts replaying the same worries, the same mistakes, the same fears. That's why action matters so much. It gives you something to build. It gives you direction. It gives you the power to redirect your energy towards something meaningful. You don't need to feel ready to begin. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. You decide to move forward. You decide to shift your focus. You decide to take one step. Then another and another. That's how new patterns are formed, not through sudden breakthroughs, but through steady effort. Each clear action replaces the space where doubt once lived. When the day feels overwhelming, narrow your focus even further. Ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not the next 10 steps, just one. Maybe it's standing up and drinking water. Maybe it's opening a document and typing one sentence. Maybe it's sending one message, making one call, organizing one task. These are not small acts. They are anchors. They pull you out of your head and into motion, and motion builds strength. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them, questions them, and chooses what comes next. That choice is always yours. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to act anyway. Even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if no one sees it. That's what builds power. That's what rebuilds your mind. That's what moves you from stuck to strong. Start today, not by waiting for better thoughts, but by choosing better actions. Shift your attention from what's wrong to what's next. Take one step that reminds you of your capability. Take another that supports your growth. Keep choosing movement. Keep choosing clarity. And every time a negative thought appears, replace it, not with empty words, but with a deliberate decision. That's how change begins. That's how you reclaim control. And that's how you build a mind that works for you, not against you. Chapter 6. Set one clear goal and pursue it without excuses. There is a turning point in every person's life when clarity becomes more important than comfort, when drifting through days without direction is no longer acceptable, when the weight of indecision and distraction becomes heavier than the discipline of commitment. That is the moment when setting a single meaningful goal becomes not just a strategy, but a necessity. Without a clear aim, energy is wasted, time is consumed by minor tasks and constant thinking without results. But when you decide on one focused pursuit, you eliminate confusion and build a path that leads forward with strength. One clear goal acts as an internal compass. It gives your day structure and your choices meaning. Instead of asking what you feel like doing, you start asking what brings you closer to the outcome you've committed to. That shift changes everything. You're no longer pulled in 10 different directions. You're no longer caught in the trap of trying to do everything at once. You've chosen your priority, and from that point forward, excuses no longer fit. They don't belong to someone who has made a decision. They only exist when the decision is still uncertain. The reason many people struggle is not that they lack ambition, it's that they haven't chosen where to apply it. They try to pursue too many paths at once, hoping that one will lead to something worthwhile. But this only creates noise. It's like digging 10 shallow holes and expecting to strike gold. The depth comes from staying with one. The breakthrough comes from consistency, not from variety. When you focus on one goal, your progress compounds. Each day adds to the last, and what once felt impossible begins to take shape. Excuses show up most when you haven't truly committed. They sound like logic, but they're rooted in hesitation. They come disguised as reasons, but they're fueled by avoidance. When you set a clear goal, those excuses begin to lose their power because your direction is stronger than your doubt. You don't argue with yourself about what to do. You already know. You wake up with purpose. You align your choices with your objective. You stop negotiating with weakness. Setting one goal doesn't mean giving up your other dreams. It means honoring one dream enough to give it your full effort. It means recognizing that progress requires focus. The more focused your attention, the more effective your actions. You don't have to chase 5 things at once. You only have to make real progress in one area to build momentum in your life. That single pursuit becomes the foundation on which you can later build more. But it starts with choosing one and following through. When you pursue something without excuses, you're no longer interested in comfort. You're interested in growth. That means showing up, even when it's hard. It means doing the work without waiting to feel motivated. It means following your schedule, even when your emotions try to pull you away. That's how discipline is built. Not from inspiration, but from repetition. From honoring the decision you made, long after the feeling that started it has faded. There's a kind of strength that comes from doing what you said you would do. It rebuilds trust with yourself. It reminds you that you are not at the mercy of distractions, moods or circumstances. You are capable of staying on course, regardless of the noise around you. And each day you act in alignment with your goal. You gather proof. Proof that you are becoming someone different. Someone who finishes. Someone who leads their life instead of reacting to it. Start by defining exactly what your goal is. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it clear enough that there is no room for interpretation. If you say, "I want to be healthier," that's vague. If you say, "I will walk 5 miles every morning before work," that's direction. Vague goals leave room for delay. Specific goals leave no room to hide. When you define your goal clearly, you give yourself a target. And when you have a target, you can begin building the habits that hit it. Every day will offer you the chance to drift off track. There will be distractions that seem urgent. There will be temptations that feel more pleasant than discipline. There will be moments when the easier path calls to you. But those are the moments that define your future. Not because they are dramatic, but because they are consistent. Every small decision to stay on course adds strength. Every small deviation weakens your momentum. The future you want is built from the small steps you take today, repeated over time, with fewer and fewer exceptions. The truth is, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. What you need is a willingness to start and a refusal to stop. You learn by doing. You grow by continuing. You gain confidence not from talking about it, but from proving it to yourself through your actions. Doubt doesn't disappear by thinking more. It disappears by doing more. The longer you stay in motion, the less space doubt has to grow. When you set a single goal and pursue it fully, you eliminate distractions by default. You say no more often. You cut out commitments that don't support your direction. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building long-term growth. This is where self-respect deepens, because you're no longer living in reaction to everything around you. You've become intentional. You've become directed. And that inner alignment brings a kind of peace that isn't dependent on outside success. Don't wait for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. Conditions will never be flawless. Life will never pause so you can begin. Start with what you have. Start from where you are. Start now. Decide what matters most to you. Choose one goal that will stretch you, that will improve your life if you follow it through. Then make that your standard. Not your wish, not your preference, your standard. When it becomes non-negotiable, you stop entertaining excuses. You simply act. Even when it feels slow, keep going. Even when the results are invisible, keep going. You're building something stronger than outcomes. You're building identity. You're becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. That matters more than speed. That matters more than applause. Stay with your goal long enough to outlast the doubt. Stay with it long enough to break through the plateau. Stay with it until it's part of who you are. Life will test your commitment. It will give you opportunities to give in, to give up, to drift back into comfort. But each time you choose your goal over your excuses, you gain strength. And that strength is what will carry you through the challenges ahead. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. One clear goal, one steady pursuit. No excuses, just action, day by day, until what once felt impossible becomes real. Chapter 7. Create better habits that align with your growth. Growth doesn't happen because you want it. It happens when you consistently act in ways that make it inevitable. Your habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They either push you forward or quietly hold you back. Most people want change, but few examine the small choices that shape their direction. When your daily behaviors contradict your goals, your growth stays stuck in potential. But when you align your habits with the future you want, change becomes natural. It becomes the expected result of how you live. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. That's not how progress works. What matters most is identifying which patterns are keeping you small and then replacing them with new ones that support your evolution. The biggest shifts come from the smallest improvements repeated until they become normal. You don't need to wait for motivation or a dramatic breakthrough. You only need to act with consistency on a better choice over and over until it reshapes the person you are becoming. To create habits that actually serve your growth, you have to start by asking better questions. What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? Then ask yourself, what do I need to do daily to make that identity real? Habits are not just tools, they are evidence. They reveal who you believe yourself to be. If you want to become someone different, start acting in line with that version of yourself, even before you fully believe it. Identity catches up with action. People often try to change their habits by focusing only on the behavior. But the behavior is the final link in a longer chain. Before the behavior is the trigger. Before the trigger is the environment. Before the environment is the belief. If you want real, lasting change, you must look deeper than what you're doing. You must understand why you're doing it, when it shows up, and what you believe it does for you. Only then can you replace it with something better. For example, if you find yourself wasting time in the evening watching mindless content, don't just say, "I'll stop doing that." Ask what you're avoiding. Ask why that habit feels easier than doing something valuable. Ask what you're not addressing in your day that leads you to that pattern. Then intentionally design an alternative. Give your mind a new path to follow. Make that new behavior easier, more accessible, and more satisfying than the old one. Don't rely on willpower. Build a system that makes your better choices automatic. Your environment shapes your habits more than you realize. You can want to be disciplined, but if your surroundings are cluttered with distractions, you will keep falling back into the same cycles. You can want to wake up early, but if your phone is next to your bed lighting up with notifications, you'll stay in bed scrolling. So make your environment serve your growth. Remove the cues that lead to self-sabotage. Put visual reminders where you need focus. Surround yourself with tools, not temptations. Habits aren't just about success, they're about identity reinforcement. Every time you show up for yourself, you're proving to your mind that you are someone who honors their intentions. That quiet proof builds trust, and that trust becomes the foundation for self-worth. You stop questioning whether you can change, because you're already doing it. And when that shift happens, your relationship with effort changes too. You no longer need perfect results. You simply need daily alignment with the person you've chosen to become. It's not about discipline for its own sake. It's about creating habits that reduce friction between you and your goals. The less you have to think about doing the right thing, the more consistently you'll do it. This is why morning routines matter. Why planning your day ahead of time matters. Why eliminating decisions around key areas of your life matters. Decision fatigue kills progress. Simplicity supports follow-through. So build routines that make your best choices automatic. Growth-focused habits are not just about doing more. Sometimes they're about doing less of what drains you. Less time with negativity. Less time spent complaining. Less time checking meaningless updates. Every time you cut out noise, you create space for clarity. You create room for reflection, for learning, for action. Don't just add positive habits, also subtract destructive ones. Your growth is shaped as much by what you remove as by what you repeat. Not all good habits look impressive from the outside. Some of the most powerful are invisible. Waking up and writing your priorities. Taking 10 minutes to reflect before reacting. Putting your phone away during deep work. drinking water before coffee, stretching your body before the day begins. These are not dramatic, but they create the conditions for higher energy, clearer thinking, and sharper focus. Small hinges swing big doors. Never underestimate the quiet rituals that keep you stable and strong. Your brain loves certainty and predictability. It builds patterns based on repetition. The more often you repeat a behavior in a consistent context, the faster it becomes automatic. That's why habit stacking is so effective. You attach a new habit to an existing one. After I brush my teeth, I'll read 1 page. After I drink my coffee, I'll journal for 5 minutes. Over time, these links become solid. You no longer think about them. They simply happen. That's how you upgrade your operating system. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're likely just running outdated patterns that were never built for your growth. You can outgrow them. But it takes intention. You must choose your habits with the same care you choose your friends, because they will either pull you upward or quietly hold you in place. Ask yourself daily, does this habit reflect who I want to be? Does it support my energy, my vision, my character? If the answer is no, it's time to replace it. Progress is not found in massive effort on rare occasions. It's found in steady action applied daily. The most successful people are not those who do everything perfectly. They are the ones who make fewer bad choices, more consistently. They are the ones who recover faster when they fall off track. That's the mindset to adopt. Not perfection, but alignment. Not pressure, but progress. Keep moving forward, one behavior at a time. Every habit you build is either a deposit into your future or a withdrawal from it. Choose to deposit. Choose to act like the person you are becoming, not the person you've been. Let your habits become the quiet declaration of your next chapter. Let them speak louder than your doubts. Because once you align your daily actions with your deepest goals, growth is no longer something you chase. It becomes who you are. Chapter 8. Surround yourself only with people who uplift you. The people you surround yourself with play a profound role in shaping who you are and who you become. Whether we realize it or not, our friends, colleagues, and even casual acquaintances influence our mindset, behavior, and emotional well-being every single day. This influence can either uplift us or hold us back. The key to long-term personal growth and success lies in consciously choosing to be around individuals who elevate our energy, encourage our progress, and support our dreams. It's not just about the company you keep, it's about the quality of that company. Positive, supportive people inspire you to be your best self. They challenge you to grow, encourage you to push past your limits, and celebrate your successes with you. On the other hand, toxic, negative people drain your energy, limit your potential, and reinforce self-doubt. They can create emotional barriers that make it harder for you to see your own worth or take the necessary steps toward your goals. The first step in cultivating an empowering circle is recognizing the impact others have on you. Pay attention to how certain people make you feel after spending time with them. Do they leave you feeling energized, motivated, and inspired? Or do you feel emotionally exhausted, doubtful, or demoralized? People who uplift you help you feel stronger, more capable, and more determined. They don't feed into your insecurities or doubts. Instead, they help you focus on what's possible and push you to become the best version of yourself. We often spend time with people simply because they've been in our lives for a long time or because we feel obligated. But long-term relationships are only worth keeping if they continue to nourish your growth. If someone consistently brings negativity, criticism, or stagnation into your life, it's important to consider whether the relationship is worth maintaining. It's not about cutting people off arbitrarily. It's about making room for those who genuinely contribute to your well-being and success. This doesn't mean you abandon everyone who has a difficult moment or a bad day. We all experience hardships. But you have to evaluate whether the overall dynamic is uplifting or pulling you down. Your environment has a direct impact on how you view yourself and the world. The more you immerse yourself in positivity, support, and growth-minded conversations, the more you align your life with those values. Being around people who are focused on their own growth, who encourage learning and self-improvement, helps you stay motivated and inspired to keep moving forward. These relationships are built on mutual respect and shared values, people who understand that growth is a journey and that setbacks are a part of the process. A key aspect of surrounding yourself with uplifting people is learning to discern between those who truly support you and those who simply hold space in your life without contributing to your well-being. Uplifting people don't just cheer you on when you succeed. They are also there to help you stay grounded and focused when you face challenges. They remind you of your strengths and potential when you start to doubt yourself. They offer practical advice, emotional support, and encouragement, all while respecting your individuality and autonomy. On the flip side, people who drain your energy often have a way of making you feel like you're not enough or that your dreams are unrealistic. They may criticize your choices, discourage your ambitions, or focus on what's wrong rather than what's possible. Their negative energy can seep into your mindset, making it harder to stay focused on your goals. Over time, this can lead to a cycle of self-doubt, frustration, and even resentment. It's crucial to identify these patterns and take steps to distance yourself from those who hold you back. When you surround yourself with people who uplift you, you cultivate an environment of positivity that naturally breeds growth and success. These are the people who push you to stay focused on your goals, celebrate your achievements, and remind you that you are capable of accomplishing anything you set your mind to. Their belief in your potential helps strengthen your belief in yourself. This is not about validation or ego. It's about having a strong support system that keeps you grounded and motivated to pursue your dreams. However, it's important to remember that uplifting people are not those who simply tell you what you want to hear. They are the ones who will be honest with you when needed, who will challenge you when you're settling for less than you're capable of, and who will help you grow even when it's uncomfortable. They may give you tough love, but it's always rooted in care and respect. These are the people who see your potential even when you can't yet see it yourself, and they will help you unlock that potential through encouragement and accountability. The people who uplift you are also the ones who help you build habits that align with your growth. They don't indulge in negativity, excuses, or complacency. Instead, they encourage you to take action, push past your comfort zones, and develop the daily habits that lead to long-term success. Their energy is contagious. They inspire you to strive for more, to improve yourself, and to never settle for less than your best. Their belief in you fuels your belief in yourself. Sometimes it may feel difficult to let go of relationships that no longer serve your growth, but remember that growth requires space. The more you prioritize uplifting relationships, the more you will start to notice how much lighter and more motivated you feel. Your mental clarity improves, your emotional resilience strengthens, and your path forward becomes clearer. As you invest in relationships that nurture your growth, you will also begin to attract more people who are aligned with your goals and values. You'll find yourself surrounded by individuals who inspire you, challenge you, and support you in ways that propel you forward. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift you also involves setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about creating a safe space where you can thrive without constant negativity or disruption. It's about protecting your energy, your time, and your mental well-being. You can still be kind and respectful while distancing yourself from those who continuously drain your energy. By setting clear boundaries, you are creating the necessary space for positive, growth-oriented relationships to flourish. Sometimes, this process of surrounding yourself with uplifting people means you have to step outside of your comfort zone. It may require finding new circles, seeking out mentors, or building relationships with people who inspire you. Don't be afraid to pursue relationships that challenge you to grow, that push you to be better, and that inspire you to reach new heights. You may need to seek out environments where success, positivity, and progress are the norms, not the exception. In the end, the people you choose to spend time with will either elevate or diminish your experience of life. If you want to grow, succeed, and live your best life, it's essential to surround yourself with individuals who see your greatness, encourage your potential, and help you stay focused on what matters most. Uplifting people don't just make you feel good, they make you better. They bring out the best in you, helping you rise to your full potential. Choose your circle wisely, and watch how it transforms your life for the better. Chapter 9. Learn something new from every single setback. Setbacks are often seen as barriers, obstacles, or signs that we have failed. But in reality, they are nothing more than opportunities in disguise, valuable lessons that hold the potential to shape our future in profound ways. Every time we encounter a setback, we have a choice to let it define us negatively or to learn from it and use it to fuel our growth. The latter is what separates those who are stuck from those who move forward with resilience and determination. The key to transforming setbacks into success lies in the willingness to reflect, learn, and adapt. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to fall into a pattern of self-criticism, frustration, and defeat. You may begin to question your abilities or doubt whether you are on the right path. But in those moments of disappointment, there's a powerful opportunity for growth if you choose to look for it. Every setback contains a lesson that can teach you something valuable about yourself, your strategy, or the situation you're facing. The problem is not the setback itself, but how you choose to respond to it. The first step in learning from a setback is to shift your mindset. Instead of seeing failure as a personal flaw or a reason to quit, see it as a lesson that is meant to guide you toward greater success. When you approach setbacks with curiosity rather than resistance, you open yourself up to growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Or what did this setback teach me about my approach? This simple shift in perspective transforms the setback from something negative into a stepping stone toward progress. Learning from setbacks requires a willingness to take responsibility for your actions and decisions. It's easy to blame external factors, other people, or circumstances beyond your control. While it's true that some situations are out of your hands, there is always something you can learn from how you responded to the situation. Did you take consistent action? Were you fully committed to your goal? Did you make assumptions or overlook important details? Reflecting on your decisions and behaviors allows you to identify areas where you can improve. It's not about self-criticism, it's about understanding what went wrong and what you can do differently moving forward. In moments of setback, it's also essential to be kind to yourself. Learning from a failure doesn't mean beating yourself up or focusing on what you could have done better. It means acknowledging the mistake, accepting it, and then asking yourself how you can grow from it. This process of self-compassion helps you maintain the motivation to move forward instead of staying stuck in regret or guilt. If you treat setbacks as lessons and approach them with the same mindset you would use to learn a new skill, they will no longer feel like roadblocks, but rather catalysts for growth. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in walking away. Peace doesn't always need defending, and wisdom doesn't always need explaining. The most powerful moments are often found in the spaces between words, where a valuable practice when reflecting on setbacks is to identify patterns. Take note of any recurring themes or challenges that appear each time you face a difficulty. Are there certain situations or decisions that consistently lead to setbacks? Do you find yourself making the same mistakes repeatedly? By recognizing these patterns, you can begin to address the root causes of your setbacks and develop strategies to overcome them in the future. It's through this kind of reflection that you can break free from the cycle of failure and move toward lasting success. Setbacks also offer an opportunity to reassess your goals and strategies. Sometimes, setbacks occur because the path you're on is not aligned with your true goals or values. When faced with a setback, ask yourself if the direction you're pursuing is still the right one. Are your goals still meaningful to you? Are the steps you're taking toward those goals the most effective ones? Sometimes setbacks happen because it's time to pivot, adjust your approach, or reframe your objectives. It's important to be flexible and open-minded, allowing setbacks to guide you to a better way forward. Learning from setbacks doesn't always mean making immediate changes. Sometimes, the lesson is simply to keep going. Persistence is one of the most powerful tools for success, and often it's not the first attempt that yields results, but the second, third, or fourth. The ability to learn from a setback and then use it as motivation to continue striving toward your goal is what separates those who succeed from those who quit. Success is not about avoiding failure, it's about learning how to move through it with a clearer sense of purpose and a stronger determination. It's also important to remember that setbacks are not always dramatic or life-changing. Some of the most powerful lessons come from smaller setbacks, those little moments when things don't go quite as planned. These moments offer valuable insights into your habits, mindset, and approach. Whether it's a small mistake in a project, a minor misstep in a conversation, or a delay in achieving a goal, every setback holds a lesson. The more you train yourself to reflect on these moments, the better equipped you'll be to handle larger challenges in the future. Every setback teaches you resilience, the ability to keep moving forward in the face of adversity. Each time you reflect on a failure, learn from it, and apply that lesson, you become stronger, wiser, and more equipped to handle future challenges. Resilience is not about avoiding failure, it's about how you respond to it. Do you let it define you, or do you rise above it and keep going? With every setback, you gain the tools you need to face the next challenge with more clarity, confidence, and strength. As you continue to face setbacks, remember that failure is not permanent unless you allow it to be. The key is to view each setback as a valuable lesson, a step along the journey toward achieving your goals. Setbacks are inevitable, but they don't have to be devastating. They can be powerful teachers if you choose to learn from them. The more you embrace setbacks as opportunities to grow, the more resilient and successful you will become. Setbacks aren't the end of the road, they are simply a detour, guiding you to a more refined path. When you learn from each failure and integrate the lessons into your approach, you will find that your setbacks are not obstacles, but stepping stones on the path to greatness. Keep reflecting, keep learning, and most importantly, keep going. Every setback is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of achieving the success you desire. Standing speaks louder than speech. Chapter 10. Push through fear by taking one bold action daily. Fear has a powerful grip on us. It often holds us back from pursuing our dreams, achieving our goals, and realizing our potential. It's a natural response to the unknown, to the unfamiliar, and to the things that challenge us. But fear doesn't have to be something that paralyzes us. It doesn't have to be a barrier that stops us from moving forward. Instead, fear can be a signal, one that shows us where we need to grow, where we need to take action, and where we can make the most significant progress in our lives. The key to overcoming fear is not in avoiding it or waiting for it to disappear, but in taking bold action, one step at a time. Every day, we face choices that can either keep us stuck in our comfort zones or push us to step beyond them. When fear shows up, it's easy to let it convince us that we're not ready, that we're not capable, or that it's safer to stay where we are. But in truth, the only way to push through fear is to confront it directly, with courage and determination, by taking bold action. It starts with acknowledging the fear. Fear is a natural part of the human experience. It's not something to be ashamed of, or something that makes us weak. Everyone experiences fear, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making a mistake, or fear of the unknown. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of fear, but their ability to act in spite of it. It's about learning to feel the fear, understand it, and then take action anyway. Taking bold action doesn't mean rushing into things recklessly or making decisions without careful consideration. Bold action is about stepping out of your comfort zone, even when you feel uncertain. It's about doing something that feels difficult, uncomfortable, or even terrifying, but doing it anyway because you know it's necessary for your growth. Bold action is the decision to keep moving forward, even when fear tries to pull you back. The first step to pushing through fear is to break the action down into small, manageable steps. Often, fear seems overwhelming because we look at the big picture, the entire challenge or goal, and feel paralyzed by its enormity. But when you break it down into smaller actions, it becomes less intimidating. Instead of focusing on the entire journey, focus on the very first step. What is one small action you can take today that will move you closer to your goal? It could be something as simple as making a phone call, sending an email, or taking a few minutes to research something that scares you. Whatever it is, make sure it's a step that moves you forward, even if it's just a tiny one. Taking bold action is also about overcoming the mental chatter that often accompanies fear. Our minds have a tendency to amplify our doubts and worries. We imagine all the things that could go wrong, all the ways we could fail, and all the reasons why we're not good enough. But these thoughts are not facts. They are just fears masquerading as truths. To push through fear, you have to recognize these thoughts for what they are and not let them control your actions. When you feel that internal resistance, those negative thoughts telling you to back down, take a deep breath, acknowledge the fear, and then choose to take action anyway. It's important to remember that action breeds confidence. The more you act in the face of fear, the more confident you become. Each time you take bold action, even if the outcome isn't perfect, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you can handle the discomfort, and that you are moving in the right direction. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding fear, it comes from facing it head-on, time and time again. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things, and that you don't have to wait for fear to disappear before you act. One of the most powerful ways to push through fear is to focus on the bigger picture. Fear often stems from the uncertainty of the unknown or the potential for failure. But when you keep your eyes on the larger goal, on the reasons why you started in the first place, it becomes easier to take action. Ask yourself, what will this action lead to in the long run? What will I gain by pushing through this fear? When you connect your actions to your deeper purpose or long-term vision, it becomes easier to push past fear and stay committed to the journey. Accountability is another important factor in taking bold action. When we're afraid, it's easy to procrastinate or make excuses to delay taking action. But when you have someone holding you accountable, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a colleague, it increases your commitment to taking bold action. Knowing that someone is rooting for you, checking in on your progress, or offering support can give you the extra push you need to keep going. Accountability makes it harder to back down or avoid the hard steps because you know someone else is watching, and that can be incredibly motivating. It's also important to embrace failure as part of the process. Fear often holds us back because we're afraid of failing. But failure is not the end, it's part of the journey. Every time you take bold action, you are increasing your chances of success, even if the outcome isn't exactly what you hoped for. Each failure teaches you something valuable, whether it's a lesson in perseverance, a new insight into what works or doesn't work, or a reminder of the strength you possess to keep going. Rather than fearing failure, embrace it as a necessary step on the path to success. The more you fail, the more you learn, and the closer you get to achieving your ultimate goal. In summary, pushing through fear is not about waiting for the fear to disappear, it's about acting in spite of it. It's about taking small, bold actions each day, overcoming negative thoughts, focusing on the bigger picture, and staying accountable to your goals. The more you act in the face of fear, the stronger, more confident, and more resilient you become. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't have to control you. By taking consistent action, you show yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Chapter 11. Track your small wins to build steady confidence. Rejection can feel like a harsh blow, a reminder of our perceived inadequacies, or a signal that we're not on the right path. It's an experience that no one enjoys, yet it's one that everyone faces at some point in life. Whether it's a rejected job application, a failed project, or a relationship that doesn't work out, rejection stirs emotions of disappointment, frustration, and sometimes even self-doubt. But what if rejection, rather than being something to avoid, could actually serve as the fuel you need to grow, adapt, and succeed? The reality is that rejection is not the end, it's the beginning of a new phase of growth. Rather than viewing rejection as a sign of failure, consider it an opportunity for reflection and improvement. It's a chance to reassess your approach, refine your strategies, and take your efforts in a new direction. In fact, some of the most successful people have used rejection not to define them, but to redefine their path and sharpen their skills. When you face rejection, it's crucial to allow yourself the space to feel disappointed or upset. These feelings are normal. It's important to honor your emotional response, but you shouldn't stay there for long. The key to using rejection as fuel is to shift your mindset from defeat to possibility. Rejection is not a personal attack on your worth or potential. Instead, it's a signal that something in your strategy, approach, or timing needs adjustment. It's not a reflection of who you are, it's a reflection of the specific circumstances in that moment. To use rejection as fuel, start by asking yourself why you were rejected in the first place. What were the reasons provided? What could you have done differently? Was there something you overlooked, or something you can improve upon? This reflective process isn't about beating yourself up or dwelling on your shortcomings. It's about understanding what went wrong and how you can adapt to do better next time. The most valuable insights often come from taking an honest look at where things didn't go as planned. Moreover, rejection forces you to embrace the idea that failure is not final. It's simply a part of the process. Everyone who has achieved success has encountered rejection along the way. The key is not to see rejection as an indication that you're on the wrong path, but rather as a part of the journey that helps you grow. Each rejection teaches you something that brings you closer to your goal, even if that lesson isn't immediately apparent. Rejection strips away the illusion of easy success and reminds us that perseverance, adaptability, and learning from our mistakes are the true foundations of achievement. To really harness the power of rejection, it's important to stay committed to your goals and to trust the process. Rejection can easily make you doubt your path, your abilities, or even your dreams. However, when you stay focused on your vision and committed to your journey, you turn rejection into a tool for refining your approach, not a reason to quit. The most successful people don't let rejection define them, they use it to fuel their fire. They recognize that every no brings them one step closer to a yes, and each setback strengthens their resolve. Another essential element in using rejection as fuel is taking proactive steps to adjust your strategy. Rejection doesn't just give you the opportunity to reflect, it challenges you to act. When you encounter a setback, instead of wallowing in frustration or disappointment, take immediate action to adjust your approach. Review your plan, refine your tactics, and take bold steps forward. The faster you adapt and make changes, the quicker you can get back on track toward success. Rejection also helps you to develop a thick skin. Over time, as you face rejection and bounce back stronger, you become more resilient to the negative impact that rejection can have on your emotions. You begin to detach your self-worth from external outcomes and understand that rejection is simply a part of the game. This mindset shift frees you from the fear of rejection and enables you to take more risks, put yourself out there more often, and ultimately grow. Chapter 12. Use rejection as fuel to improve your strategy. Rejection is a word that most people dread, often because it signifies a moment when our hopes or efforts have not panned out the way we expected. The sting of rejection can be a powerful force, and it often feels like a personal blow. It can make us question our worth, our abilities, and the decisions we've made. But if you choose to look at rejection from a different perspective, it has the potential to become one of your greatest assets in the journey toward growth and success. Instead of seeing rejection as a setback, start seeing it as an opportunity to improve your approach, refine your strategy, and grow stronger. Rejection can be a powerful fuel for progress if you allow it to shape your mindset and actions. Every rejection offers an invaluable lesson, but only if you're willing to learn from it. The challenge lies in your ability to take the emotion out of the experience and focus on the constructive aspects of the rejection. Instead of feeling defeated, ask yourself, what can I do differently next time? How can I change my approach to increase my chances of success? Rejection allows you to take a deeper look at your actions, decisions, and overall strategy. Each piece of feedback, each bit of constructive criticism, provides the tools you need to adapt and improve. When you start using rejection to build your growth, it becomes a powerful engine that drives you forward. One of the key elements to turning rejection into a tool for success is to develop a mindset of persistence. Every time you encounter rejection, it should not discourage you, but rather encourage you to press on with more focus and determination. Chapter 13. Stay consistent when results are slow to show. Consistency is often considered the secret ingredient to success, especially when results are slow to materialize. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, waiting for progress to show can feel discouraging, even exhausting. The truth is, success rarely happens overnight. It requires time, effort, and, most importantly, consistency. Consistency is also about building resilience. There will be days when you feel like giving up, when the slow progress feels discouraging, or when you're tempted to quit altogether. But those who succeed are the ones who push through those difficult days and keep going. Chapter 14. Speak truthfully to yourself with strength and belief. Speaking truthfully to yourself is one of the most powerful acts of self-empowerment you can embrace. It's easy to hide behind distractions, half-truths, or excuses, but when you look yourself in the mirror and speak honestly, it allows you to see your strengths and your challenges clearly. This self-honesty brings a clarity that is essential for personal growth and long-term success. To speak truthfully to yourself isn't just about acknowledging the facts. It's about embracing your full potential and understanding both your capabilities and your limitations. The key is to do this with strength and belief. This combination of self-awareness and confidence creates a foundation for real transformation. For many of us, the idea of being truly honest with ourselves is daunting. We often bury our insecurities or avoid confronting uncomfortable truths. Maybe we tell ourselves that we are fine, even when we know we're not. We may make excuses for why we haven't reached certain goals or why things didn't go the way we hoped. These lies, however small they may seem, only hold us back from our true potential. But when we shift the narrative and begin to speak to ourselves with truth, we start unlocking a path of real progress. When you speak to yourself truthfully, it opens up space for growth. This honesty requires vulnerability. It means admitting that we're not always where we want to be, but it also involves recognizing that we have the power to change. It's about standing in the reality of our situation and not shying away from what needs improvement. This is not about self-criticism or belittling yourself. It's about acknowledging where you are with the intention to move forward. By acknowledging the truth, you are setting yourself up for meaningful action and lasting change. Strength is necessary when speaking truthfully to yourself. It's not always easy to face our shortcomings, and it requires courage to confront what we'd rather avoid. However, this strength isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about having the resilience to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Strength comes from the realization that facing the truth gives you the power to make real decisions and take real action. By speaking truthfully, you are making a commitment to yourself to rise above fear, doubt, and excuses. When you speak with belief, you are aligning your thoughts with your aspirations. It's not enough to acknowledge the truth if you don't believe that you can change or improve. Self-belief is essential in the process of transformation. It's about trusting yourself to take the necessary steps, even when the journey seems daunting. This belief doesn't come overnight, but it's built through consistent practice of speaking the truth and acting upon it. The more you speak the truth to yourself, the more you align with your true purpose, and the more confident you become in your ability to achieve your goals. You begin to build momentum, and every truth you speak strengthens your resolve. This practice of truth-telling must be done regularly. Self-reflection isn't a one-time activity, it's a continuous process. Every day you should ask yourself, am I being truthful with myself today? Am I acknowledging the areas where I need to improve? Am I reinforcing my self-belief with positive affirmations? These questions are not meant to be a form of self-judgment, but rather a guide to help you stay aligned with your growth. Every truthful reflection moves you closer to your best self, and every small action builds the foundation for a larger, more fulfilling life. When you speak truthfully to yourself, it also opens the door to self-compassion. Many people shy away from honesty because they fear they will be too hard on themselves. The truth is, self-compassion and truth go hand in hand. When you are honest with yourself, it doesn't mean you are berating yourself. It simply means that you are recognizing where you are and choosing to take steps forward. You acknowledge your mistakes, but you also recognize your potential for improvement. Speaking truthfully allows you to separate your actions from your identity. You can admit when something didn't go well without attaching shame or guilt to who you are as a person. This separates your worth from your performance and helps you move forward with a sense of clarity and confidence. Strength and belief also come from seeing every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Rather than seeing failures as something to avoid, you can begin to see them as vital lessons in your journey. Speaking truthfully to yourself means understanding that you are not perfect, but you are constantly evolving. Every obstacle you face is not a sign of weakness, but a chance to learn, adapt, and improve. When you change your mindset in this way, setbacks no longer feel like failures, they become stepping stones to your future success. Another crucial aspect of this process is the need for personal accountability. When you speak the truth to yourself, you're no longer in denial about the areas where you are falling short. Instead, you take responsibility for your actions and your results. Accountability is a powerful tool for personal growth. It means not blaming others or external circumstances for where you are, but rather owning your choices and actions. This ownership empowers you because it gives you control over your life and the direction it is heading. Building strength through truth also involves learning to quiet the noise around you. The world can be full of distractions, opinions, and judgments, but your voice must remain the loudest in your own life. Speaking truthfully to yourself means tuning into your own desires, needs, and ambitions, rather than letting outside influences dictate your course. It's about learning to trust your instincts and following your own path with confidence. This requires a certain level of mental discipline, a willingness to focus on your truth and ignore the distractions that pull you away from your purpose. Furthermore, speaking truthfully requires that you be clear about your values and your goals. When you align your actions with your core beliefs, the truth becomes easier to speak. It becomes a guiding force in your life, helping you make decisions that support your growth and your vision. You cannot speak truthfully if you are unclear about what you stand for. So take time to define your values and let them guide your decisions. When you know what matters most to you, you can speak the truth without fear or doubt. You can take bold actions based on a deep belief in your own potential. Speaking truthfully to yourself is also about embracing your humanity. It means accepting that you are a work in progress and that perfection is not the goal. Instead, the goal is to keep moving forward, learning, and evolving. Strength comes from the willingness to face your flaws and still believe in your worth. Every truth you speak to yourself brings you closer to the person you are meant to be. With each step, you affirm your ability to handle whatever comes your way with grace and confidence. And as you continue to speak truth to yourself with strength and belief, you'll find that you are not just surviving life, you are thriving, growing, and becoming the best version of yourself. Chapter 15. Choose progress over perfection in every single moment. Choosing progress over perfection means embracing every step of your journey without becoming paralyzed by the need for flawless outcomes. It is an invitation to celebrate every small forward movement, even when it isn't accompanied by ideal results. When you prioritize progress, each moment becomes an opportunity to grow and learn, instead of a test where only perfection is acceptable. It encourages you to let go of the unrealistic expectation that every action or decision must be perfect, and instead recognize that every effort you make, no matter how imperfect, is a valuable building block for your future. Life is a continuous experiment, a series of attempts that collectively shape who you become. By choosing progress, you learn to view mistakes and setbacks not as reflections of inadequacy, but as necessary parts of the journey toward improvement. In each moment, progress invites you to experiment, to try new approaches, and to pivot if necessary. It's about understanding that growth is incremental and that small, consistent actions accumulate over time into significant achievements. This mindset shifts the focus from an unattainable ideal to actionable and continuous learning. When you choose progress over perfection, you free yourself from the burden of self-judgment. The pursuit of perfection often leads to over-analysis, fear of failure, and procrastination, while progress fosters an environment where learning from outcomes becomes the primary goal. In this frame of mind, errors are not seen as final verdicts, but as adjustments along the way. You begin to perceive setbacks as valuable feedback, which can guide you toward better decisions and refined strategies in the future. This change in perspective creates a resilient spirit, one that does not succumb to the pressure of perfection, but finds strength in steady improvement. One of the critical elements of choosing progress is the willingness to take imperfect action. It means getting started, even if conditions are not ideal, and understanding that waiting for perfection only delays the possibility of achievement. Every action, regardless of its immediate success, contributes to your growth. When you push yourself to act despite uncertainty and potential flaws, you allow room for creativity and discovery. This openness to taking risks transforms challenges into opportunities for experimentation and, ultimately, transformation. It's easy to become trapped in cycles of inaction when perfection is the sole measure of success. The fear of not meeting self-imposed high standards can prevent you from even trying. In contrast, progress teaches you that the journey itself is as important as the destination. By focusing on the process rather than a fixed, perfect outcome, you cultivate a mindset of continual evolution. Each imperfect attempt becomes a learning experience, a step that builds momentum and gradually propels you toward your goals. Real growth often comes from the willingness to embrace uncertainty and to take small, purposeful actions repeatedly. When you choose progress over perfection, every minor victory becomes a reminder that you are capable of improvement. Celebrating these small wins reinforces your confidence and encourages you to maintain the momentum. It nurtures a cycle of self-affirmation and growth, where every effort, regardless of its outcome, is recognized as a crucial part of your development. This approach also nurtures flexibility. In a world that is constantly changing, the ability to adapt is more valuable than rigid adherence to idealized standards. Perfection is an illusion, a static state that rarely reflects the dynamic nature of life. Progress, on the other hand, is fluid. It allows you to pivot, adjust, and refine your course as you move forward. When you appreciate progress, you understand that change is inevitable and that every shift, even a small one, is a sign of evolution. This realization frees you to be more creative, more open to feedback, and more willing to experiment with new ideas. Moreover, choosing progress builds resilience in the face of criticism, both internal and external. Perfectionism often brings with it the fear of judgment and the weight of high expectations. This pressure can lead to burnout and diminish your overall well-being. By contrast, focusing on progress equips you with a healthier perspective on your efforts. Instead of being derailed by negative feedback or setbacks, you learn to see them as temporary pauses in a larger ongoing process. This resilience allows you to bounce back from adversity, using each experience as a stepping stone toward greater mastery and self-improvement. Self-compassion plays a vital role in this journey. When you acknowledge that perfection is unattainable and that progress is a more realistic goal, you allow yourself the freedom to be imperfect. Compassion for yourself fosters a nurturing internal dialogue that encourages growth rather than criticism. It's about accepting that you are a work in progress and that every day presents an opportunity to learn something new and to become a better version of yourself. This compassionate outlook not only reduces anxiety, but also fuels your motivation to continue moving forward, regardless of the challenges you face. Importantly, the path of progress is marked by continuous, incremental actions that, over time, yield remarkable results. Success rarely comes from a single flawless achievement. It often emerges from a series of small, consistent steps taken day after day. Whether you are developing a new skill, advancing in your career, or improving your personal relationships, the cumulative effect of persistent effort is profound. When you measure your success by the progress you make, rather than by an ideal standard of perfection, you create a sustainable model for long-term achievement that honors your journey and values every lesson learned along the way. Choosing progress over perfection means living with purpose each moment, embracing each challenge as an essential part of your story. It invites you to take risks without the crippling fear of failure, to make decisions confidently even when the outcomes are uncertain. When you let go of the pressure to be perfect, you open the door to endless possibilities. You allow yourself to experiment, to innovate, and to refine your approach with every step. This openness is the essence of creativity and self-discovery, leading you to new insights and uncharted opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden under the weight of unrealistic expectations. Ultimately, the decision to choose progress over perfection is a declaration of your commitment to growth. It is a reminder that what matters most is not the fleeting satisfaction of a flawless outcome, but the ongoing journey of learning, evolving and becoming. In every moment when you decide to take action and embrace the progress you make, you reaffirm your belief in your potential. This belief builds a foundation of inner strength and confidence that carries you through even the most challenging times. By choosing progress over perfection, you grant yourself the freedom to be innovative and adaptable, to move beyond the confines of fear and self-doubt. You create a space where improvement is continuous and every step is celebrated, regardless of its imperfection. Embrace the journey with all its ups and downs, knowing that each imperfect step is a necessary part of your evolution. Over time, these steps accumulate into a life defined by growth, resilience, and the unwavering commitment to become the best version of yourself.